Manauda Malashi becomes the first minister in Cameroon to have taken the anti-COVID-19 vaccines coming from Cameroon, coming from China to the Republic of Cameroon. The vaccines arrived in Cameroon via the Simaleni International Airport yesterday, and the minister took the jab today in Yaoundé. Meantime, over 18 villages have been burnt down and over 17 villagers killed in Mwa, a subdivision in the Donga Mountain Division of the northwest region of Cameroon, following inter-ethnic conflict between Fulanis and local persons from Mwa, called them local settlers, belonging to the Yamba tribe of Mwa subdivision. And a recent disturbing report from the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa is establishing responsibilities, on one hand holding separatists who are said to have provoked the individuals who are now putting their anger back on the local population. I'm referring to Fulanis, and at the same time accusing the government of Cameroon of having at one point in time used the Fulani headsmen to fight armed separatists in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. A complicated situation we shall be analyzing during the second part of this edition of the news. Meantime, in the south region of Cameroon, the people have rejected a senior divisional officer coming for the first time to visit Meomesala subdivision. He met barely empty seats. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining Equinoxe Television on our primetime newscast. We're live from our central news desk in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. We start this newscast in human interest to talk about gendarme officers in Fumban, chief town of the known division of the west region of Cameroon, who are currently questioning some bandits, 5 of them in number. They are said to be persons who have been orchestrating highway robbery in Fumban and of course attacking vehicles, in most part plying the Fumban Bafusam stretch of the road in the west region of Cameroon. Smart Njikan Gabriel tells us more in the following report.
Machetes, rifle guns, cartridges and telephones were some of the items seized by gendarme officers of Fumban from 5 alleged thieves that the officers arrested recently in Malantwen subdivision. According to Lieutenant Lioya George, the 5 arrested had blocked the road from Manjum leading to Matuchi in Malantwen. It is after a call from the commander at Malantwen that gendarme officials left from Fumban for the operation. Their descent to Malantwen led to the capture of these 5 alleged bandits who have been causing havoc in the locality. After thorough investigations, the alleged thieves confessed to have a hand in attacks perpetrated on the highway in the west region and also aggressions in Malantwen subdivision. The 5 will be presented to the state prosecutor for onward hearings.
Smart Njikan Gabriel reporting there, and now we talk something else to stay on human interest page, as we earlier announced that inhabitants, the population and traditional rulers of Meomesala subdivision, that's in the Ja and Lobo division of the south region of Cameroon, have totally boycotted the visit of the newly appointed senior divisional officer for the subdivision. During his Meet the People tour to Meomesala subdivision, the Joe surprisingly met the official reception ground empty. He met only some few traditional rulers, and asking to know what happened, the people say they tried in vain to convince inhabitants to come out to welcome their new senior divisional officer for the Jan Lobo division. to no avail. Only seats were present when the senior divisional officer visited Mayor Messala subdivision, where in the Ja and Lobo division of the South region of Cameroon. However, it was also noticed that some 19 traditional rulers boycotted the visit of the senior divisional officer, whose other name we got as Owuna. He was appointed recently as SDO for the Ja and Lobo division, and as of Noma, a traditional within the administration in Cameroon, he took up the initiative to meet people of the different subdivisions of his division of command. Surprisingly, he met an unusual atmosphere in Mayor Messala. Questioning the traditional rulers, the Dio could not understand why the people decided to stay at home, even though he had announced his visit some days ago. He, however, left the place disappointed, indicating that if the people want him back, they should bring themselves together, and sent a letter indicating that they are ready to see him. As you can see, the only empty seat could be seen at the official ground in Mayor Messala. And I will talk something else, COVID-19 in Cameroon, to say that Cameroon has received its first consignment of 200,000 doses of the Chinese COVID-19 vaccine, Sinopharm. The vaccine was received by Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti yesterday, Sunday, at the Yaoundé International, that is the Simale International Airport in the nation's political capital city. Yesterday, April 11, 2021. The donation from the Chinese government was handed over to Cameroon by Chinese ambassador to Cameroon after the documents of reception was signed by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manahuda Malashi, on behalf of the government of Cameroon. And shortly after, or immediately after the vaccines arrived at Cameroon, it was the turn of the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manahuda Malashi, to preach by example. He was among the first persons who got their vaccines, or the Cameroon's Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manahuda Malashi, was among the first persons who had their first COVID-19 vaccine shot in Yaoundé today. He then became the first government minister in Cameroon to be administered the Sinopharm vaccine from China while receiving the jab at a specialized center for COVID-19 patients in Yaoundé, Cameroon. The health boss said plans were on the way to distribute the vaccines to the 10 regions of Cameroon. Priority, according to Cameroon's Minister of Public Health, will be given to health officials in Cameroon. It, however, remains uncertain what will become of other Cameroonians, or the consignment that will be administered to other Cameroonians, but official information indicates that the first consignment, as you saw there, will be administered first to health workers in Cameroon. And after the procurement of some 200 doses of anti-COVID-19 vaccines by the government of Cameroon, with plans to distribute in different areas of the country, Cameroonians have been asking questions on the modalities that are being put in place as far as the vaccination of the that is the Cameroonian people in general is concerned. It is the content of this report compiled by Innocent as a
nation strategy. Health personnel in the country will be the first set of persons to benefit the first doses of the procured anti-COVID-19 vaccines. In a document, priority goes to those who test and follow up COVID-19 patients. The 200,000 doses received in Yaoundé would be distributed in 243 accredited vaccination centers in the 10 regions. The most COVID-19 affected region, Yaoundé, will benefit 44,440 doses. Littoral, which is second affected, will get 34,380 doses. Far North region will benefit 24,640 doses. Once vaccinated, a vaccination card will be given by the vaccination team.
This vaccination excludes pregnant women as well as persons with fever and high temperatures equivalent to 39 degrees Celsius or above. To the government, there is need to reduce mortality rate and the severity of the disease and also protect medical personnel. Health officials also put in place a surveillance system in health districts for proper follow-up of the vaccinated. Government will launch vaccination of its health personnel on April 15, 2021. After this stage, most vulnerable and persons exposed to the disease, estimated at over 3 million persons, will be next beneficiaries. Then, persons who voluntarily decide to receive the anti-COVID-19 vaccine.
The cheapest bottle of drink costs 500 CFA francs, while a face mask that can be reused costs at most 250 CFA francs. Yet Cameroonians are comfortable without a face mask in protecting themselves. Despite media propagation and sensitization carried out by subdivisional councils on the danger of the second phase of COVID-19 pandemic, Fcfa administration and local authorities in Limbe were taken aback on the laissez-faire attitude of the population in implementing measures against the spread of the virus.
Where's the mask, my dear? I beg you.
A sensitization campaign launched by the Limbe City Council that brought out local administration from their offices to the field. The reality was very conspicuous. At the meat line beside the slaughterhouse, both the butchers and buyers did not see anything wrong of not having a face mask. Respecting social physical distance at the main market was out of the question.
Because they cannot do social distancing, they can put on their mask. It's going to save so many lives. So we thought that we should distribute masks and sensitize the population in this market.
The authorities at some point had to order the people to put on their face mask. Collecting free face masks by the population despite the presence of the forces of law and order was a matter of survival of the fittest. The city mayor, Mutanga Andrew Monjimba, says, despite the ignorance of the population, it is a role of the local government to educate and sensitize its population on any danger that might befall them.
Very, very surprising that people are not taking this issue serious. They should know that coronavirus is real and that it is causing a lot of damage at this moment.
Though sanction has not been placed on defaulters, the city mayor instructed market masters, officials of the Limbe Motor Park, and that of other traveling agencies not to allow anyone to sell without a face mask and for passengers not to enter the buses without a mask. A meeting with taxi drivers and commercial motorbike riders shall take place in the days ahead, hoping to count on their sense of patriotism in fighting against COVID-19. It should be noted, Limbe is the highest hit in Fcfa division.
The third term of the 2020-2021 academic year has resumed in Cameroon today. An overview of this resumption day in the city of Douala showed that strict focus was placed on the strict respect of anti-COVID-19 measures, as Charles Kmer, who made a run of some schools in Douala, tells us in the following report.
The third term of the 2020-2021 academic year has finally begun, following the resumption of nursery, secondary and high schools in the country. An overall evaluation shows that barrier measures are being strictly respected vis-a-vis the COVID-19 pandemic, even though it comes with a few challenges, like in the case of the government bilingual high school, Cité de Palmier, in the Douala 5 subdivision, says Pa Shella, vice principal of the institution.
Really challenging in the sense that we have to be here as early at 6:40 latest in the morning to check in the student, making them to wash their hands, splashing them, which is not an easy task. It's quite demanding. We do that in the morning and we do that in the afternoon. And you know, with the students with their age, it's usually not easy to control them. Sometimes we tell them to put on their mask, but by you turn, they have already removed the mask, but we make sure that we are behind them.
She further explains that the students here are privileged because the school has reserved masks for students who may have perhaps forgotten their masks while coming to school.
Administration has some reserve. Those students who did not have masks, we don't send them home, but we offer them masks. The school have their masks on. As you can see, we even have disinfectant. We disinfect the classroom. As the first group is going out, the desks are disinfected. You see the bowls in front of the classroom, they steep their legs, and then they get in. So we are doing everything possible to eradicate this dangerous pandemic.
The students also feel confident and excited as 90% of the academic year has already been covered following the resumption of the third and final term of the 2020-2021 academic year. The resumption of the third term academic year has begun perfectly. The principal made a speech on the strict respect of barrier measures. We also sit in class respecting social distancing, and before we even enter the classroom, we disinfect our feet.
Toujours en respectant la distanciation sociale, en se lavant les pieds devant la classe et en s'asseyant chacun à sa place.
On the walls of the institution, there is a message which reads, "Yes, we can defeat COVID-19, a piece of information which should be promulgated by all Cameroonians."
And in the Indian division of the southwest region of Cameroon, the senior divisional officer was rather angry that some teachers failed to respect the official opening day for the second term of the academic year. Derek Jato tells us more from the Indian division, indicating that the SGO is sending warning signals to schools, heads and teachers in his area of command to respond to school, that is to be in school beginning tomorrow, will face severe sanctions.
It is Monday, April 12, 2021, day one of the last and decisive term of the 2020-2021 academic year in Cameroon.
The joint ministerial order signed by both the Minister of Secondary Education and that of Basic Education have been well respected in Indian division.
Forwan Lawrence is the senior divisional officer here, and he has been moving from one school to another at the divisional headquarters of Mundemba to see things for himself.
We have just made a tour of Mundemba town and we realize that people and the students are in their respective classes. Not only in their respective classes, but at the same time obeying all the government measures put in place to fight against the COVID-19.
Mondays for the past 4 years now has been known to be a day for a sit-in strike instituted by the separatist fighters. And the Indian SDO says the story here is different.
We noticed for ourselves that there is no word in our dictionary that goes down. All of us are from town. All the activities are moving as if it is any other day.
As observation, he noted with a lot of dismay that some school heads were absent.
In some schools, we noticed some lapses. We noticed that some principals have not shown up. And I'm giving those ones up to Wednesday. Wednesday because both fly a dinner bulu on Wednesday. If by Thursday they are not in their classes, the sledgehammer of the law will face them, because if we were not taught at the level of primary school, secondary school, we will not be what we are today.
Last academic year, this division made the Southwest region proud.
Last year, the first year in Cameroon came from there. The first 5 in the Southwest came from there.
And the wishes of the administration is to see these students perform even better than their predecessors.
And of course, Derek Jato, then posting our page on Back to School, that is the official starting of the third and last term of the 2020-2021 academic year, with warning signals coming from the #1 administrator of the Indian Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. And that brings us to receive our first guest on today's edition of the news. We shall be talking purely education. We are receiving Musi Said, who is coming from the conflict-hit region, of course, from the Southwest region. Musi Said, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. So it's a pleasure
receiving you on this particular day with Back to School, small in the other parts of Cameroon, like the report you watch in Douala, and a disturbing one in the Anglophone regions with a senior divisional officer asking teachers to come. How do you feel as somebody who is concerned with education?
Okay, talking about the issue of education, I would say the whole political part of it we are not really involved in, since we are in the humanitarian world. But I think education is an inalienable right of every child, and as such, if we are talking about education, it's something that whatever happens, we try to see that at least something.
At least it should be a moral responsibility, a professional responsibility for teachers to answer present in school on day one. Okay. They shouldn't wait for the administrator to give them warning signals before they answer present.
Okay, that's very true, and I think it is as a result of this that I'm seated here to talk about a little initiative from the Foundation for Inclusive Education.
Yes. Now, which has as objective to be able to impact knowledge. You understand? You should be as an example. You have got something you offer to the people, and if people see that it's a nice idea, they want to adhere to. They want to be present, and they come on a day that they want to receive the lessons from you guys, and they don't see you, they will get frustrated and confused.
Well, the best I can say about that is saying, you see, we promote at every given point education, and you see, one thing with education is that education is very effective if we are working with an environment that is safe for the children, and that is the reason why I would say where we stand as at now. For areas that you see there's where there's relative calm, you can see already students are trying to do something. And I think teachers are people who are conscious, I think, of their profession, even though not all of them. And when the environment is okay, I believe it will not even be something that they will be forced to return. They will move back to their various areas of work.
And of course, you concern the kind of thing that you give to people is not really dependent on the environment. It's because you think that it's important for people to have a special kind of directive when they are going to school. Irrespective of the environment, they should have a special kind of directive, a special kind of guidance, a special kind of advice to be able to do the right thing or to make the right choices as far as education is concerned, right?
Yes, that is very, very true. And that is why, even though the conflict surges on, and even though there are issues the way they are, the Foundation for Inclusive Education has taken upon herself, even with all of the inconsistencies and the inconveniences, to come up with a platform where we are thinking about educating the learners, especially those of the advanced level, and especially students with disabilities, on the various career choices. Because at one point, if we are actually talking about education, and we do not give the children, we do not give the students something to hold on to, a direction to follow, it would still not be very, very effective. So when we give them a direction to follow, I think much of what we are talking about with the issues of conflict and the others will be mitigated.
And how is it an issue? How preoccupying is this issue of wrong orientation to Cameroonians? In Cameroon today?
Oh, I can tell you it's very, very preoccupying. Very, very preoccupying. Following a studies that Foundation for Inclusive Education carried in 2016, precisely, even with the surging conflict, it was discovered that about 80% of students, based on our respondents that we had in our hands, they did not even know where they were going to. And I think 70%, corresponding to the 80, were those who, at least all they knew is that when they finished school, they would be willing to travel out of the country, and not even knowing what they are planning to go and do out there. So I think that is the reason why the initiative of
Wait, yes, I want you to go further on that. That's how it affects an individual, and I want you to even go far to show how it affects the society when people don't get the right directives or the right orientation, and they don't get to know where they're going to, and when they leave school they don't know where they have to go to, and the macro effect.
Yes, I think the effects are evident. It can be seen. We are talking about cases of vandalism. We are talking about cases of robbery. We are talking about cases of depression. We are talking, there are a lot of other vices that can be perpetrated when somebody does not know what to do at a given point. So if you do not know what to do at a given point, it is evident that obviously you do something that is perhaps not very useful for the society. So we are talking about, even for instance, the girl child, who is very pertinent, very important in our society today. We are talking about pregnancies out of, for instance, wedlock, because most of them, they do not see much of the direction that they are supposed to take.
And but you know, back in the schools, in secondary school, for example, my school, for example, I studied in a place where we had guidance counselors. We had sessions with them. We knew their offices. We could go to them for advice. How is it different? As this stopped, is it not existing again, or they're not giving the right directives to kids in our schools today?
I would say you were probably one of the privileged few. But I would send you, if you go down to the field to see what actually happens in the various schools, you discover that these children, these students, have little or no orientation. If we are talking about the guidance counselors, in some institutions they are there. In other institutions, they are not there. In other institutions, at least we understand that, for instance, teachers, first of all, they have a responsibility to do this job. But there is always that position where they need to strike a balance with what they have to do and giving orientation to these children. And I think what we are saying here is very, very important, because these children, where they stand, is very critical, especially the case of the high school students that we are talking about in this case. And that is why the event, which is actually bringing me here this time, that comes up on the 16th of this month at the Catholic University Institute, has been arranged mostly for students in the high school and students with disabilities.
But yes, it comes to at the right time, when I want to think that institutions have been organizing. You know, when people take on initiative, it's not like we've not been seeing it. People want to know what is different, because the University of Boya, which is my university, for example, when kids are admitted, they have sessions where, how do they call it? It's still orientation. We have orientation as sessions. They are guided before they start classes. It happens with private universities.
Okay, I think I went through the same institution, Mr. Armstrong. I think I went through the same institution. And what I would say here is, most of the times when orientation is given to students, is when I would say they've already signed whether their passports to success or whether they've already signed their death warrants.
Okay.
Because most students come to the university not knowing what they have to come and do. Some go after friends and follow the issues of peer influence. Some come there because their parents want them to do specific things. And when they have already been admitted into the institution, that is when, for instance, they call them for orientation. And in which case, sometimes, it really does not take a lot of time. I mean, it's just a single day, and most of the times they will not get the weight of these particular situation until perhaps after their 3 or 4 years of their degree programs. Then the big question comes: what do I do?
And sometimes they don't always have a one-on-one session, and at most times the numbers are too much for the people giving them the lectures, and some are shy to ask questions that will consequently help them. And you are trying to paint a picture of people who leave school without having go to school without having gotten the right orientation, leaving school, getting frustrated, and we're having many people graduating and not having something to do.
Okay, what you are saying, like the statistics speak for themselves. That is why I said it was carried out. It's a very scientific process.
Yes.
And after we went down to the field, that's why I told you that 80% of those we took as respondents, they were not aware of what they were going out there to do. For instance,
in the university,
most of those
in
we
higher
touched
institutions,
not higher institution. The study was carried out in the high school, secondary schools from Kmer and from Fako. So this is the foundation. If we are talking about a university, yes, much can be done there, but we tackle the problem from the roots of the problem, and the roots of that problem is from the secondary school. We believe, it's a belief, that if we are committed to orientate students from this level of the secondary school, before they go to the university, they will have informed choices, so that they will become very useful in doing something. I mean, to be candid, if we have to be very candid, you discover that the government is not going to employ everyone. And as such, we need a system of education that teaches the young men, that teaches the young women, that teaches even the disabled, that they need to be able to do things to support even what the government is already doing.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question, but it gets so interesting that you talk about it. Do you people also make university or institutional choices for these kids? And at the same time, the question comes because there are some people who've been raising concerns with the system of education, something that what is given to most of our kids now is not helpful enough in the 21st century. It's only giving them a mindset of going to a kind of school that you will leave and start seeking for job. They're not giving them the job creation mentality.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Armstrong. The truth about it is, if you look at the venue for our event, for instance, it's the Kalik University Institute. They have a multipurpose conference hall there. And we are using that particular venue because we are partnering with them. Now, this is an institution that is one of the most prestigious around. And they give out, I'm coming.
No, they say, continue, but no, without publicity anyway, about the institution. But you want to state facts on how it's affecting
Yes,
people.
I'm coming there. What I'm saying is, what they give out there, they have professional courses that they give to equip, that they give to empower.
Which is an example that should be followed.
Should be followed.
You want to rightly said. We're rushing out of time. Musi said, we thank you very much for having accepted to be our guest on this special day, back to school. And of course, we believe that most of the kids who went to school today or who are planning to take on school by next year will see the importance of getting such information from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Armstrong.
And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. We are taking up to the next report, taking you to the presidential election in the neighboring Republic of Chad, where vote counting is underway. The election took place yesterday, and Chadians went to the polls to decide between President Idriss Déby, incumbent president, and some other candidates who becomes the leader of the Chadian nation for the next presidential mandate. Details with our special correspondent, Babila Jonathan, who is on special assignments to N'Djamena in Chad.
Officials of the elections organizing body here in Chad, the National Independent Electoral Commission, are going on with the counting exercise. They started at 6 p.m. after the polling stations closed as stipulated by the law, and the counting exercise is going on. From the figures, statistics that we are receiving from some of the polling stations, there seem to have been a low level of participation as far as the number of expected voters and those who actually voted is concerned. In polling center number 5, the second polling station in Jambarbal, for example, there were 419 registered voters, but only 59 voted at the end of the day at Direction des Domaines Jambal Ngota, where the incumbent Idriss Déby Idno voted earlier today. The first polling station recorded 105 out of 415 voters who were expected there, and polling station number 4 recorded 600 or 262 persons who voted out of the registered 415 voters who were expected there. And of course, the officials are continuing with the counting exercise. The National Independent Electoral Commission is expected to make public the official results of the presidential election 2021 in the Republic of Chad within a deadline of 2 weeks, and those results will be confirmed by the Supreme Court within another deadline of 2 weeks. We talked to some international and national observers. Notably, we talked to Yakubu Hamadou, who is the director of the Pan-African Institute for Electoral Assistance, member of the Bar Association in Togo, and former Minister of Human Rights in Togo. And of course, we also talked to Saïd Adoum, a national observer, and this is what they told us.
Jusqu'à l'heure où nous vous parlons, aucun incident malheureux n'a été dénoncé. On est là depuis le matin, jusqu'à maintenant, ils ont fini. Pas de problème.
According to them, everything unfolded hitch-free, but they are still getting statistics, getting information about all what happened here across the national territory as far as the 2021 presidential election is concerned, and we'll be keeping you updated. Signing out, we are Mitterrandam and Babla Jonathan in Jamina.
Thanks, Babla Jonathan. Coming up with Talking Point. Thank you for joining us on Talking Point. You remember we announced that there is a crisis in the Anglophone crisis. That is another crisis to the crisis in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Inter-ethnic clashes leaves at least 17 persons dead and over 18 villages burnt in one subdivision of the Donga Mountain division of the Northwest region of Cameroon. Statistics from the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, whose human rights officer is our special guest on today's edition. Akem Kevin Kwai, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me on the program.
We having your reports painting a very disturbing situation of one subdivision in the Donga Mountain division, but also in Boom, in the Boyo division, all of the northwest region of Cameroon, a crisis in another crisis. How bad is the situation?
Yes, we have a situation which we can call a crisis within a crisis. In the recent weeks, we have had numerous reports of a very deplorable situation in the Donga Mountain division of the Northwest region, where the Fulani headsmen are fighting against the natives. So this one, which is resurfacing just now, is just an outburst of a long-standing conflict between the Fulani headsmen and the native farmers. This is something which has been documented in the Cameroon history, known as the farmer-grazer conflict.
Oh, the farmer-grazer conflict.
Exactly.
It's got nothing to do with the current crisis in the northwest and southwest regions.
The current crisis has just helped to precipitate the immediate cause of the conflict in Mwa.
How has it precipitated? How has it contributed then to the farmer? Because when you talk about farmer-grazer problems, I want to believe that we've not at least had this large-scale destruction and killings in a farmer-grazer situation in the northwest region, if I'm very right.
Yes, talking of the current crisis we have now, it has been helped to reach the level at which it is now by the Anglophone crisis, and this is due to the numerous attacks perpetrated against the Fulanis by the non-state armed groups, that is the separatist fighters, and also the contribution of the government, because the government has been aware of the Fulani-Grazer conflict since the early, before independence, and this has lived up to this moment, and they were not able to solve it because of the Anglophone crisis. They are now using the Fulanis to fight against the natives.
Kevin Quine, you are the human rights officer. No, we will be talking about the preoccupying rights abuses there. But there was a question I missed. I wanted to just ask you about some historical friends, within these settlements in the northwest, in the northwest region, particularly with the Fulanis and the people, has it always been there? Have these people been living quietly, or has the setting of the state of Cameroon caused that farmer grazer problem, or it existed just when immediately the people came to settle in the northwest region? That's actually the question.
You know, most of the tribes in the northwest region, which we known as the Tika, are all groups of people who migrated from other regions to the northwest region. And these people settled there before the 19th century, and the Fulanis were the last to arrive. Before they arrived in the northwest region, most of the natives, the settlers, had already occupied all the land. So when the Fulanis came now and introduced their cattle, because of the taxes they were paying and the business of cattle rearing, which was flourishing, and these people thought it was a good thing to associate with the Fulanis, because of they were also using the manure which the cattle produce.
Farms.
So in the long run, the cattle now started destroying people's farmlands. The conflict. Yeah, the conflict started from there, from the cattle destroying people's farmland, and from the chiefs selling their land to the natives, to the Fulanis, against the wishes of the natives. We have an example in Kejemkanku, where a fawn was dethroned and even lynched because he sold land to the Fulanis.
All right, it's very interesting there. We'll fast forward it now and go to the humanitarian nature of this crisis.
Yes.
This conflict.
In the recent months or weeks, we have had the Fulanis in Mwa attacking the natives. And we have had, at least, because we have interviewed direct victims from the ground, and we came to realize that 18 persons have been shot dead by the Fulanis, and about 17 villages have also been
armed individuals.
Yes, I mean the Fulanis are
killed. I'm talking about those killed, armed or unarmed.
Unarmed. They are civilians. They have nothing to do with violence. They are not separatists. Neither are they in the side of it. They are just civilians in the community.
Yes, you are establishing it, and villages too destroyed.
Yes, we have more than 100 villages destroyed, and people have migrated from this place. People have moved across the border to Nigeria, and also some in other divisions around Ndunga Mountain.
You have studied to make some recommendations to the government of Cameroon to move out of it.
Yes, the government owes a duty to protect human rights. Under international law, the government is supposed to protect, fulfill, and respect human rights. And so those who are being killed are citizens of Cameroon, and the government owes a duty to protect their rights. So it is the responsibility of the government to investigate and bring those perpetrating the violence to justice.
But at least you have established responsibilities already, because I got you blaming the government on one hand and the non-state arms group on the other hand.
Yes, the government is responsible on one hand, and the armed separatist fighters are also responsible on one hand. We have had the government using the Fulanis against the natives. Especially, we even have the case of the Ngabo massacre, where Fulanis were involved with government forces that led to the killing of at least 21 persons and many injured.
Thanks very much, Akem Kevin Kwai. You are Human Rights Officer at the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. Is that right?
Thank you, Armstrong, for having me on this prestigious program.
We hope to have you again. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying with us, staying in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe Television.